It's already been over 10 days since the flood disaster in Huludao, Liaoning. Volunteers finally reached the heart of the disaster area today. The scene is devastating. Collapsed houses, no water, no electricity. A volunteer said the supplies they brought were just a drop in the bucket. In the video, a woman stands in front of her destroyed home and bursts out crying. She says her house is completely ruined, her family members are in the hospital fighting for their lives, and everything is gone. She insists this is the harsh reality, with no exaggeration. The same fate has befallen many families here. Looking around, there are ruins and desolation everywhere. It's hard to believe this was once a lively community. The floodwater rose to the rooftops, and even houses on slopes weren't spared. The roads were destroyed by the flood, leaving no trace of their existence. Sheep pens were washed away, and none of the sheep survived. The riverbank is littered with drowned sheep. Cars were wrecked beyond recognition, and even reinforced concrete couldn't withstand the floodwaters. A man who grew up in Huludao returned home after the disaster, covered in mud. He sat in the ruins looking at the devastation around him, too heartbroken to speak. People are gone, homes are gone, and their houses, crops, everything is gone. All that is left are ruins, vast fields of flattened corn, and piles of wrecked cars, furniture, and clothing scattered everywhere. This man is enduring one of life's most tragic misfortunes. In the Huludao flood, his parents were swept away by the waters, as was his 13-year-old son. His house was destroyed, and over 100 sheep were washed away as well. Officials stood around with umbrellas explaining his situation. I think he is one who has the hardest time in this flood, the hardest time in all of Jiangchang. The men stood in the rain, mechanically answering others' questions. There was no signs of grief on his face from losing his loved ones and his home. It's unclear whether he's grateful to have survived or has become numb from the overwhelming sorrow. Online commentators noted that Jiangchang County in Huludao is already one of the poorest regions in Liaoning. This flood has only added to their woes. With just over a month until the cold weather arrives in the northeast, how will they survive the winter without homes? The officials each held umbrellas, saying he was the worst hit by the disaster, but why didn't anyone offer him an umbrella in the pouring rain? A vegetable greenhouse farmer cried as they explained how the flood washed away all the greenhouses and all the walls have collapsed. They used to rely on the greenhouses for their livelihood, but now everything is gone. They don't have the means to rebuild and don't know what to do. Their daughter is in college, but they can't afford the tuition and had to ask the school for an extension. Fortunately, their house is still standing and their family members are alive, but their livelihood is all gone. This middle-aged woman said her house was washed away and now her family of 5 is living in a tent. They rely on kind people to give them bread or things to eat. There is no electricity either. This used to be a store that sold home textile, the owner said.
家人们，一场大雨把一路仓库的货
The flood soaked an entire warehouse of goods. Everything is still in its packaging. If you take it home, wash it, and dry it, you could still use it. If any of you don't mind, go ahead and take it. It would be such a waste to throw them all away.
The owner's voice was filled with sadness and helplessness. Volunteers brought a truckload of vegetables to the disaster area. Along the way, many vehicles had overturned and the roads were severely damaged. Many disaster victims gathered and lined up to receive the vegetables. A victim said that when you have nothing to eat, everything tastes good. Seeing the victim in the videos eating fresh cucumbers, social media users commented that it was heartbreaking to see how long they must have gone without fresh vegetables. An elderly woman lost more than 300,000 yuan in cash that she kept at home, all washed away by the flood. She didn't know how to use a bank and didn't want to trouble her children, so she kept the money at home for convenience. However, a single flood washed away her lifetime of savings. Some commentators expressed skepticism, saying that it was hard to believe a rural area could have so much cash on hand, especially in such a poor region like Huludao. On August 20th, Jiangchang County in Huludao, Liaoning Province was hit by a flood. By August 23rd, official reports from Huludao stated that 11 people had died and 14 were missing. According to preliminary official statistics, the disaster affected 188,757 people in Huludao, with losses amounting to 10.3 billion yuan. 8 national and provincial highways, along with 210 rural roads, were damaged or cut off to varying degrees. 187 bridges were damaged, and electricity and communication were disrupted for 128,580 households in 286 villages across 29 townships. Authorities claimed the disaster was caused by heavy rainfall, but locals revealed online that the flood was made worse by a midnight reservoir discharge without prior warning to villagers. This led to mudslides and worsened disaster impact. In many villages, houses and residents were swept away by floodwaters. Several villages were completely washed away. Reports from civilian rescuers showed that Datun town in Jiangchang County was hit the hardest, including over 10 surrounding villages like Hanjiatun, which was entirely washed away. Public records on Baidu Encyclopedia shows that in 2004, Hanjiatun village had 224 households and 704 people. A report from the paper on the afternoon of August 20 mentioned that the Jiangchan County Flood Control and Drought Relief Command issued a notice on August 19. The notice stated that the county flood commands decided to begin discharging water at a rate of 50 cubic meters per second, starting at 3 p.m. on the 19th. This decision was made to ensure the safe operation of Gongshanjui Reservoir and protect both upstream and downstream areas. This discharge was planned to continue for 7 days. Local villagers pointed out that while the notice was issued at 3 p.m. on the 19th, the water discharge actually began around 1 a.m. No amount of rain could have caused the water level to rise to the height of the houses in just a few hours. Several residents from Jianchang told foreign media that a massive flood hit in the middle of the night. Combined with a reservoir discharge, the flood washed several villages into the mountain gullies. Many people were swept away while they were still asleep. A resident of Heishanke village in Jianchang County said, "The flood hit around 1 in the morning and people were unaware because they were all sleeping. The houses were swept away. It was terrifying." Videos disclosed by local residents show that the Nanpiao Wujintang Reservoir in Huludao was also discharging water, causing Jingzhou Binghe Road to be submerged, leaving only the treetops visible. The Qingshan Reservoir, a large reservoir located in the midstream of the Liuogu River in Huludao, was also discharging water. The Houshan Reservoir in Suizhong County, Huludao, was also releasing water. Due to the CCP's usual practice of covering up the truth, the public has questioned the official figures, and the true death toll remains unknown. On August 29th, volunteers who went to Jiangchang County for rescue operations reported that disaster area was still flooded, with nearly every household affected and cornfields flattened. Houses were severely damaged. There are still landslides on the mountains, and roads are so unfamiliar that you can only navigate during the day. On both sides of many roads are ditches, and entire roads have been lifted by the floodwaters. Volunteers reported that they were afraid to release certain videos and refrained from answering questions about the number of deaths. They only mentioned that from a kilometer away from the disaster area, there was a strong, pungent smell of decay, and the daytime temperature in the area was still over 20 degrees Celsius. A user familiar with the situation told Western media, "The video from my hometown that came out that day were terrifying. Many houses and people were washed away, and then the internet was cut off. Now it's been a week and everything smells rotten. Stop asking how many people died, but if you have a bit of common sense, think about it." As of August 29th, 10 days after the flood, many villages in the worst hit areas of Jianchang County were still without water, electricity, or internet. Local residents revealed that there was a shortage of supplies, but the government only provided 1 quilt per household. It was other kind-hearted people who brought in additional supplies. Although the CCP has tried to conceal the severity of the disaster, in this information age, it's nearly impossible to fully cover up the truth. Through social media, the public can still find out what really happened. A social media user shared that their neighbor's hometown is in Jianchang. After the flood, the neighbor returned home. Their family is safe, but in one small village, only 4 people survived. A female civilian rescuer reported, "We now reached this village, which has been hit the hardest by the mudslides. Out of 10 households, 6 have already been washed away." A resident of Datun town in Zhengchang County said many houses were swept away and the fields were destroyed. Many people were washed away and the people are still searching for them. A female villager from Yangma-Dianji Township in Zhengchang County added, "There are still people under this rock. My third brother is trapped underneath. Our village has only a few dozen households. Now fewer than 30 people are left at home. Yesterday, we dug all day but couldn't get him out." A resident from Huludao mentioned that more than 20 villages were destroyed, with some villages completely wiped out. His father, who went to help with disaster relief, saw the river in Zhengcheng filled with bodies of drowned people. A woman who was working outside but whose hometown is in Huludao shared that she wasn't there during the flood, but her classmates said the disaster was severe, with more than 500 or 600 people perished. Hanja village downstream was wiped out, with only 5 survivors. News reports unallowed entry. They only reported 10 deaths in Zhengchang, but more than 100 people have come to local funeral homes to claim their relatives who were swept away. In Yangshu Wanji, 7 people were found dead in a cornfield. The county head was leading road repairs, and when they dug for sand, they found 2 more deceased persons. The workers were so terrified they stopped working. Her classmates also mentioned that in Suizhou County, 500 or 600 drowned people were washed up by Liaoning River. They weren't allowed to be claimed. They were just buried on the spot, covered with cloth, and buried in a mass grave. Another classmate's village also had 1 person drown, but they said it was a natural death and didn't allow anyone to say it was due to the flood. Another classmate mentioned that in Yangshui-Wan, the Mao River caused severe damage. Houses in low-lying areas were completely wiped out. Some homes had nothing left but their front doors. Another classmate, while walking on the road in Huiling, encountered 3 groups of people searching for their missing family members. The woman emphasized the facts are clear. Those who care and have the ability should go to the scene to help, and the local people will give you the answers. A villager downstream from Huludao Reservoir also said only a few dozen people survived from 3 or 4 villages. The rest were swept into our village and no one has come to claim them yet. A villager from Lamandong town in Zhenchang County, Huludao City said the cattle, sheep, and pigs were all swept away. Some villagers are out of contact. Talking about it brings me to tears. You can't imagine it without seeing the scene yourself. The rescue teams returned crying. Another commentator mentioned that a classmate working at the grassroots level in Zhenchang said that the search for people continues, and wherever there's a foul odor, they find a body. Commentators from Liaoning expressed frustration, saying that if it weren't for the real name system, they could talk about it for days. Residents of Zhengchang County in Huludao City questioned the government. Have we been abandoned? Are the rescue teams being driven away because they don't want the scandal to be exposed? Due to government suppression, there has been almost no news of donations online. Commentators from Liaoning complained, asking why there is no response from people in the south when the northeast is in trouble. They wondered if people in the south were really so indifferent. Many commentators from the south protested, saying, "We truly didn't know. We've been scrolling through Douyin every day and didn't see anything. The news only said there was heavy rain in Huludao, but we had no idea it was this bad." A blogger mentioned he initially found it hard to believe that the Huludao flood was this severe, but there was no information available when he searched online.
Guys, I just got a private message from a good friend. They were saying, "Xiaoyang, please, could you post something on Douyin about the Huludao flood?" I almost yelled at them. What flood in Huludao? I keep hearing about giving 100,000 yuan tax breaks to people in Africa and providing free healthcare to other countries, but a flood in Huludao? How could I be on Douyin and not know about it? But I just searched, and there really is a flood. What's going on? How could I not know about this unless I specifically searched for it? I saw those houses completely wrecked, and they're saying that if there's compensation, they still need to do safety inspections? The houses are in ruins, and they're talking about inspections? Why is it so hard for us to spend a little of our own money on ourselves? When foreign countries ask for something, they don't seem to have this much trouble getting money from us. Guys, does this hurt our country's image? This situation is so serious. Just imagine what it's like for the people in the disaster area. Let me tell you, I've noticed that when something good happens, it's broadcasted across the galaxy. But when it comes to something like this, it's silent. These are families and lives we're talking about. Huludao flood. Why can't I find anything about it on Douyin? Lately, all I see is stuff about some game, criticizing Wukong, and Journey to the West. They're promoting a game, not doing anything important.
A user commented, "It's true, if you don't search, you won't find anything. I only learned about it when I saw comments on posts about the Cambodian canal project. I couldn't believe such a severe flood wasn't even trending. Look at this. It's shocking, right? This is a site of the Grand Canal project that China is helping Cambodia develop. China has deployed a total of 2,500 excavators and trucks working around the clock in a relentless operation. The scale is staggering. Although some Cambodian residents have complained about this disruption, environmental issues, and overloading, the Chinese construction team is pushing forward without concern. Excavating a canal is an extremely costly project. For example, the New Sui Canal project cost $8.5 billion US, while the difficulty of constructing Cambodia's new canal is relatively lower. It is still expected to cost $1.7 billion US. Cambodia doesn't have that much money, but it doesn't matter because the CCP is backing them, so money is not an issue. Commentators are questioning whether, in the current economic climate, investing $1.7 billion US in improving domestic welfare might achieve better results. The domestic economy is on the brink of collapse, and people's livelihoods are in dire straits. Especially with floods ravaging countless homes, many disaster victims urgently need government assistance to rebuild their homes. In May this year, when China was facing a severe period of frequent disasters, the Chinese government announced additional aid to Gaza. China will provide an additional 500 million yuan in aid on top of the earlier 100 million yuan in emergency humanitarian aid to help alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and support post-war reconstruction. We'll also donate $3 million US to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees in the Near East to support their emergency humanitarian assistance in Gaza. Pakistan is facing a food shortage, but China has stepped in to assist. According to reports on August 26, 172,800 eggs from China have arrived in Pakistan to help stabilize the poultry market. A commentator questioned whether children in China's impoverished areas and disasters victims have access to free eggs. In 2023, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbing said at a ceremony marking the 60th anniversary of China's foreign medical aid, "Since China sent its first medical team to Algeria in 1963, it has dispatched 30,000 medical personnel to 76 countries and regions worldwide, treating 290 million patients." Over the past 60 years in Algeria alone, Chinese doctors have successfully delivered approximately 2.07 million newborns. In 60 years, Chinese medical team have carried out brightness action campaigns in over 30 countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, Central America, and the Caribbean, providing free cataract surgeries to tens of thousands of patients. In 60 years, China has established partnerships with 41 countries and 46 hospitals, supported 22 countries in settling up 25 key specialty centers, and institutionalized and systemized medical technology assistance. China will continue its foreign medical aid effort to improve the health and well-being of people in developing countries, fulfilling the vision of a global community of health for all. A user commented, "I don't want to say anything because it breaks my heart. Why do I feel like crying the more I read? Because everyone else counts, but we don't." There's a popular saying that goes, "May you be reborn as a Chinese in your next life. As for me, I won't." While the CCP is generously helping other countries, how does it treat its own citizens?
Take a look at this father and daughter who were kicked out of the hospital because they didn't have money. After watching this video, I couldn't hold back my tears. I keep wondering how far away we are from universal free healthcare. I really hope it comes soon, so ordinary people can finally have happiness.
No one knows when Chinese people will enjoy free healthcare, but the CCP has already provided it to other countries first. China has helped Congo achieve free healthcare and assisted 83 countries and regions in establishing health insurance. Beijing Youth Daily reported on August 29th that the China-Africa Belt and Road Development Report 2024 Blue Book has been officially released. The report shows that as of the end of June this year, China had provided aid to 53 African countries implementing projects in food, water supplies, maternal and child health, education, and other areas benefiting over 10 million people. Over the past 4 years, China has provided more than 60 trillion US dollars in foreign aid, far surpassing the United States and becoming the world's largest aid donor. A commentator asked, "What has made kind people lose hope? When trust is repeatedly betrayed and the people are treated like ants, this regime is on the brink of collapse."